Hi everyone, my name is Lisa and this is my channel all about living in Spain with my family. Today, I'm going to give you the 5 reasons why we decided to move from Canada to Spain. If you've ever thought of living abroad or if you just love armchair travel, I hope you'll consider subscribing as I'm posting twice a week all about my life here in Spain. So about a year and a half ago, we decided to move from Toronto, Canada to Spain. And to be honest, it all started because we decided to sell our house that we'd had for 12 years. And we knew that between selling our house and finding a new place, we were going to be renting for a certain amount of time. Our kids were pre-teens, and we figured it was probably the last time as a family that it would be easy to move from one place to another before they got to be teenagers and were really settled into a high school. Now in 2017, we took the kids out of school and traveled for 7 months. They were 8 and 10 years old and we traveled to 11 different countries. And even during that trip, even though we were moving around, we always prioritized staying in one spot for a certain amount of time. So usually at least a week and sometimes up to a month. And we loved finding our local coffee shop, our local grocery store, our local restaurants. And we found that even if you went in 2 or 3 times over the space of a couple of weeks, people really started to recognize you and they would interact with you in a different way. And we just found that stopping and living in different places, even if it was just for a short amount of time, was so much more rewarding and so much richer than just getting somewhere, seeing the sights and leaving and checking it off the list. So a year and a half ago, when we were thinking about moving, we just saw this as an extension of that trip. Now, I could talk about that trip all day long, so do me a favor, if you would like to hear more about traveling family of 4 for 7 months to 11 different countries, write trip in the comments below and I will note that and try and get that up for you guys. Okay, so we had actually been to this town before a few times on that trip. We have friends here, and definitely the idea of having friends here, knowing that we already liked it, knowing that it already felt like home, definitely was a factor in the decision. But Spain was not the only choice in our list. We considered Italy, we considered France, we considered a few different places. So in the end, why Spain? So number 1, we wanted somewhere different, but not too different. We wanted some place in Europe that had culture and history and a different language, but also some place that we'd be able to acclimatize to fairly quickly. Spain is perfect in that respect. Our town Sitges, which is just outside of Barcelona, has lots of buildings from the 1600s, cobblestone streets. It really has that typical European history that makes North Americans swoon. And we're also very close to the sea. We live half a block from the ocean. On top of that, the Spanish people are amazing. We've always felt really welcome. You know, the Spaniards really work to live, not live to work. Family is really important. Long meals, long walks on the Paseo or through the middle of town. It's just a really welcoming, beautiful, lovely place to live. This town is actually 30% expat, so it's not unusual to walk down the street on any given day and hear English, French, Italian, Russian, Mandarin, all sorts of languages. And so that, that combination of Spain, but also a kind of cosmopolitan feel really appealed to us. So that brings me to number 2, language. Did you know that Spanish is actually the official language of 20 different countries, and more people are native Spanish speakers than native English speakers? So in terms of making the decision of where to go, this gave us the opportunity to learn a language that we felt we were really going to be able to use the rest of our lives, and it would give the children an opportunity to do the same. So in 2016, before our previous trip, I started learning Spanish basically as a hobby. And by the time we came here last year, I was at the point where I felt comfortable doing things like opening a bank account, looking for an apartment, going to the grocery store, restaurants, that kind of thing. All of the things that I just mentioned, I absolutely could have done in English. People in Sitges are very much used to dealing with English speakers, but it was important to me to try to speak the local language. Now, of course, Catalan is the local language, and I very quickly learned how to say hello, goodbye, please, thank you, very good, things like that. And I do sing with a Catalan women's choir, and all of that is done in Catalan as well. So I'm going to be tackling that soon, but first I really wanted to solidify my Spanish. Reason number 2 to come to Spain is affordability. Now, at the time we were coming just for a year, we knew we weren't going to be looking for jobs just in that time. We do have extra income streams, and so we had that. And then of course we had sold our house, so we were able to dip into savings as well. But having some place that was affordable was going to make all the difference. And we were considering places like France, Italy, England. Spain is a much more affordable place to live. And on top of that, where we live is actually probably one of the most expensive places in Spain to live, Sitges, but it's still very, very affordable. Now, you could choose to live somewhere else in Spain and probably save even more, but this was the best choice for us. So compared to Toronto, we are definitely spending less per month, and we have a really high quality of life, very much a comparable lifestyle to when we were at home. Now, rent is definitely less, groceries, restaurants, cell phone bills, car rentals, all of those are definitely less expensive in Spain. And if you'd like me to talk more about what we spend on a weekly basis here in Spain and some of the cost of living, write budget in the comments below and I'll add that to my list. Number 4 is healthcare and education. So even though we were only planning to come for a year, these two things are both really, really important. Now, interestingly, in Spain, the WHO has actually said that the Spanish medical system is number 7 in the world. It's also a nationalized healthcare system, just like Canada. And if we were to stay longer and become permanent residents, we could absolutely get the health card here and be part of the nationalized system. But actually, most Spaniards have extra healthcare insurance. And for a family of 4, our healthcare is about $220 a month. Well worth it. As for education, we did not want to throw our kids into local public school. If we were only staying for a year at the age they're at, it just didn't make sense. And I do get it from a language acquisition standpoint if we were going to stay long term. But for short term, and they're very academically minded kids, I really wanted them to have an environment where they could feel happy and comfortable. Being in a new country was already uncomfortable. And so I didn't think that it was necessary to add that stress to them. Now at home in Toronto, we are in the public school system and I've always been really happy with that. But here we didn't have that option. So we did find a wonderful English private school. The girls absolutely love it and they're dying to go back to school in September. Now, of course, private school is an extra expense, and actually it's our biggest expense here, and yet it is still about half the cost of what it would be for the kids to go to private school in Toronto. And so if you consider all of the other areas where we are saving money, we are still able to add in the cost of private school and still be putting out less every month. Number 5, lastly, the weather. Okay, so I'm Canadian, I'm supposed to love the winter, but to be totally honest, once Christmas is over, I am so done with winter, and there's still about 3+ months left, right? So I really wanted somewhere warm and sunny. Now, what I love about where we are in Spain is that we have a microclima, a microclimate. Our town is sort of protected by the mountains, and so it doesn't get the huge swings in weather. So it never gets too hot, it never gets too cold. It's beautiful sunshine, but I do love the fact that there are seasons. We spent time in Mexico, and I loved Mexico, but I didn't want hot tropical weather, most of the year. I love seasons. And the great thing about where we are here is in the winter, I can still put on a cozy sweater and wrap up in a nice scarf, but it doesn't snow and it doesn't really even get to 0 degrees. Honestly, for me, sunshine just improves my mood all year round. And even though, as some people say, well, weather isn't everything, it's not everything, but it is something. So we have this beautiful lifestyle that makes us really, really happy. We get to walk by the ocean in the sunshine. Even in January, you could be sitting outside having lunch in a t-shirt. It does happen. So it's just one of those places that we just feel really happy and comfortable. So those are my 5 reasons why we decided to move from Canada to Spain. Now, like I said, I am Canadian through and through, and I fully expect that we will live there again someday, but we are so enjoying our time in Spain and getting the most out of it. Have you ever thought of living abroad? Have you ever thought of traveling? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, please do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. I have lots of content on the way. Okay, I'm gonna get out there and enjoy some sunshine. I hope wherever you are, the sun is shining as well. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.